Talk a little bit about surrendering to even the submission for the podcast, because I think that story is really, really cool.
Yes. Okay. So, like I mentioned, being seen is part of my authentic code. Like, I do like to be seen. And I got this ping at the end of last year to submit for a process episode. I was like, my story's really cool. Back to that live To Be Magnetic event in LA, actually. I went into that event. I was a little torn because part of me wanted to promote my business. So I have this business called How to Actually Sell a TV Show Organically. Not only have I sold shows, I help other people sell shows. So part of me wanted to show up and I was like, oh my God, they'll find so many aligned people here who are also into kismet and bringing beautiful work into the world that sort of raises consciousness. So part of me wanted to do that. I wanted to come in and like be this expert. And another part of me felt like I should just show up for this being my whole self and to take in whatever is. That wants attention and praise and validation. And there's this part of me that's like, I should just be there and see what comes up. And so I went in with both. Like I even had 2 different business cards to share. And the magnetic part of me was like, oh, if I raise my hand, they'll call on me. But there were 2 different ways I wanted to show up, right? There's the version that like asks a question where I sound really smart and cool and like I understand manifesting and have everything together. And then there's the version where I say, I'm actually really struggling with this thing right now and trying to figure it out. And there's a missing piece and I don't know what it is. So I did the DI that you led us all through. It really opened up some stuff for me and realized the empathizer part, the dreamer part, really tapped into that. And so when I raised my hand, I asked the messy version of the question. I can't remember exactly what I said, but it was something around like creativity and abundance and like being seen at the same time. And I was so embarrassed after. I was like, oh my God, I've just embarrassed myself in front of the whole TBM community. And I'm sure Jessica thinks I'm like just messy. And I went up to the front after just to thank you because it had been such a deep experience. It really opened up a lot of things for me. And you were so lovely and like, hey, that was a great question. Thanks. I was like, oh, I have this whole narrative of like, I messed up and it was fine. And I also found I met people that were really aligned that day, that like we had great conversations and it ended up being this wonderful experience. And so it was on my mind that, oh, there's this part of me that wants the public validation, but this is also an aligned thing. And I'm just trying to navigate both of those. So after all of that, I get this ping to submit for the process episode, but it was still coming from the place of, oh, I want to be seen for all the cool things I've done. I help people and I love it. I met this guy and he's great. I want people to know and I want like acknowledgement for it. And so I submitted my submission and then I went to the meditation retreat, which is 10 days, no phone, no computer. And I got a ping that I'd gotten a response. I was like, I'm going to hear back from TBM. Oh my goodness. After the meditation retreat is over, I check my email and I don't see an email. And I was like, I'm really good about, if I feel a ping, it usually happens at this point. Like I'm pretty tapped in. I was like, maybe it's coming. And I waited, it wasn't coming. And I was like, wow, my ping was wrong. I felt pretty down for a while. I was like, man, I really thought this was going to happen. And then I listened to your episode specifically. You were really vulnerable and you shared how you thought you'd work with TBM, but some things came up that weren't aligned and it wasn't till it was right. And it was in that I realized I really had to let it go. I really had to surrender and release that it may not happen now. And frankly, it may never happen. And that is okay. That I am still whole, that I'm still worthy, that it just means there's another place or a way for me to show up. And that's great. And so when I really made peace with that weekend, I got a ping to clear out my electronic space. The Monday after that, I was like, wow, I cleaned up all my tech. I should clean up my inbox too. And guess what was in the inbox? The email that TBM sent me on January 8th while I was at the retreat. The ping had been right, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't in a place yet where I could actually show up the way I would need to. And it's funny because in that moment, I had this reaction of, oh my God, what if I missed it? What if I email and it's too late? And I thought, no, if it's right, it's not too late. It's showing up exactly when it was meant to show up. It's not a mistake that it showed up right after I made peace with that. It may never happen. And so I just sent an email. Hey, I didn't see this. I saw it now. If you guys are still open, I'd love to talk. And I truly believe that even responding from that place of surrender, that you guys might not be up to talk anymore, I think that's the reason I heard back. And so this was such a gift and such a clear example for me of what it means to surrender and really let the work be the purpose and let the sharing be the purpose, and that it doesn't have to come from that same place of like, oh, I hope the teacher picks me so I get to prove that I'm worthy. I'm inherently worthy, and anything that comes out of that is just a gift.
I mean, what a powerful example of that internal shift being the thing that is going to impact your reality, because the fact that the email did come through with your ping, and it's almost like the universe was hiding it from you. It's like, your ego is way too attached to this right now. We need you to drop that and we'll reveal it to you afterwards. It's just so crazy and so powerful. But I also, what really stuck with me too is like in the beginning when you were sharing your experience, sharing the story at the live event, that is such a perfect example of how we mirror back to ourselves our own reality and our own subconscious beliefs of ourselves. Because my experience of that was like, wow, what a profound question. So insightful. Definitely going to help the audience. I love answering stuff like this. So you were having this experience of like, oh no, what did I do? I didn't sound how I think I needed to sound to get the respect that I think I need to be valid, to be worthy. Meanwhile, everyone else is having a totally different experience to your question. And so it's like you are reflecting back to yourself how you're going to interpret the world. And it's like, let's take the power back. Like, let's change the story. We have the ability to shift the story. I even had this, it's a tiny tangent, but example this morning, Daniel and I went to this one coffee shop that is historically known to be like a cool hot spot, celebrity spot, whatever. But we like woke up, rolled out of bed in our PJs, the slumpiest outfit, no makeup, nothing, hair a mess. Like Daniel was wearing like my flip-flops. Like we just looked crazy. And we get in there and Daniel was like, oh, I think we're the best dressed. And I don't know why, but something about me was like, oh, he's right. Cause we look so confident because we don't care what we're wearing. And my attitude and energy was like, yeah, I'm in this sweatsuit. Like, ha ha ha. Like this is fun. And then I started to think in my head, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't be so proud in this outfit. And I was like, whoa, that energy shift. Do I have permission to be confident here? Or am I not giving myself permission because I'm creating a narrative? Nobody else at the coffee shop cared. Nobody was looking at our outfits. Maybe, but probably not. And so I was like, oh, I have the power to literally choose to be confident here, or I have the power to keep myself small. We have so much control over what we're emanating out. And I was like, nah, I'm going to keep the story that this sweatsuit's cool. So I just stood up stronger and was like, yep, I like it. It's fine. This is chic, kind of vibe going on. But that is the power where it's like we can control that in the driver's seat. We can put that empowered place in the driver's seat.
Love that. And as soon as you said Daniel was wearing my flip-flops, I was like, iconic.